Hello. Hope you're doing great this morning. It's a morning here in Monrovia, but I hope you're doing great no matter what time of the day it is for you. I wanted to ask you a question this morning. What if the situation you're dealing with currently is not as bad as you've led yourself to believe it is? What if it is not as good as you've led yourself to believe it is? What if your job isn't as bad as you're thinking it is, for which you want to quit like yesterday? What if business isn't so bad? What if the person you're so excited about dating or getting married to isn't as good as you're thinking them to be? What if your spouse that you complain about so often is not as bad as you're taking them to be? You see, I'm a natural optimist. And that means I naturally see the good in everything. I don't have to look for it. I don't have to think about looking for it. And that's not a bad quality. That's a great quality to have. But when I've taken it to the extreme, by only seeing the good and not giving myself chance to consider the possibility that things are not as good as I'm taking them to be, not preparing myself, that optimism has come back to bite me in the butt. And it's happened more than once or twice. And I've been involved in personal development for a long time now, but it wasn't until recently I was re-listening to Dr. Robert Anthony's book, Beyond Positive Thinking. And in the opening chapter, he labels it positive thinking, negative thinking, and right thinking. And then it hit me. You see, as high-level people, as high performers and go-getters, entrepreneurs, corporate professionals, corporate executives, leaders, you've not gotten to where you are by being mediocre. No. If you're watching me right now, chances are you've dealt with some major obstacles. You think higher. You see things differently already. You play a much bigger game than many people you know. You take risks. But then, the things that have supported you to get to this level are often the very things that hold you back. You see, to move from poverty mindset, to move from a place of abject poverty to middle class, It requires growth thinking. You've got to think positively. You've got to think incrementally. You've got to think, you have to consider good possibilities. And positive thinking, absolute positive thinking has its place. But then when you get to a certain level, you have to start thinking real. And especially for us entrepreneurs and business people. Because the reality is, in the world of business, shit happens. In life, shit happens. By being able to think objectively, you are giving yourself the chance to avoid problems, major losses. I'll give you an example. Just before COVID took off in March, I was presented with a business opportunity. And although this opportunity wasn't a too good to be true opportunity, it was a very possible opportunity. But there was also a good possibility that it will fall through, because this was not guaranteed. Well, because I was very excited about the potential, and because I didn't run the conversation by my coach to get some objective views, I hastily made the decisions to make some investments. And then the deal fell through. So when the deal fell through, I'm stuck with, and this was for my construction company, I'm stuck with equipment that I wouldn't need because I was entering into a line of work that I had no prior experience in, but I had been assured by a very trusted person that would have gotten the contract and I could just hire the people to do the work. So I had gone to invest in a facility, invest in equipment. And that put me in the hole, man. It put me in a hole. A hole that I'm still digging myself out of. Had I stopped to consider the possibility that this is not as guaranteed as my excitement had allowed me to believe, I probably would have done things differently. I might have still gone forward with it, but I wouldn't have pumped in so much. So what opportunities are you considering business that look so exciting to you right now? What investments are you considering making that the potential looks so good? And hey, the person presenting these opportunities to you may have great intentions. The decision you want to make may be for good reasons, but shit happens. So what contingency plans must you make? The opposite is also true. You may find yourself in a position right now where maybe you and your immediate boss are not getting along, or there are other issues for which you think you need to quit. And maybe quitting is a good thing for you right now. But then maybe it's not. Maybe what you need is not to quit your job, but it's to reframe the way you're looking at the job. Maybe what you need is not to change your coworkers. Maybe it's to just take a step back and see where they're coming from. And the same goes with those of you that have employees. If you've got an employee, sometimes the problem is not the employee, it's the way they see things. You see, everybody has their own world, the way they see things. And as a leader, you must be able to understand. That's why emotional intelligence and empathy comes in. You must be able to put yourself in the shoes of other people. Stop comparing yourself with others. In working with clients, one of the things that I've found that lead people to making wrong decisions, especially those of us that have the competitive spirit, is the comparison. I know that's messed me up. When I tell you some of the people I compared myself with, you'll probably laugh. In 2003, I was in Boston, Massachusetts, and I had begun plans to enroll at UMass, the University of Massachusetts, and then transfer to Harvard College as soon as possible. And guess what? I was going to study programming. That didn't happen for different reasons. I eventually moved to Minnesota, to St. Paul, Minnesota. Didn't even get to enroll in college. It's a whole different story. And then later in 2004, Facebook comes out. Now, up until this point, I was heavily into IT and teaching myself basic HTML coding. I was building basic websites, playing around on eBay and all those things. Facebook comes out. And at that time, you could only join Facebook with a college email address. Your email address must have ended in .edu. So I couldn't. But I kept following Facebook. Eventually, when it opened up to everybody else, I joined. And I think I later joined in 2006. And I followed Facebook for one major reason. At that time, nobody knew Facebook was going to be as big as it is now. Maybe, some of us saw prospects, but I didn't even understand the digital advertising space as I do now. So I really didn't see Facebook becoming what it is today. But I couldn't help but compare myself to Mark. For one, we're of the same age. And two, I kept asking myself, what if I had managed to attend Harvard? Considering that I was also going to be doing programming, is it possible that I could have crossed paths with Mark? Okay, it didn't happen. But if he could do something and build something this huge, I too can. And those are empowering beliefs. But when I was supposed to come back to Liberia, I made the mistake of maintaining the beliefs as they were without consideration for environment and the influence that environment has. So I continued to have this grand thinking of possibilities. possibilities that are possible in a different environment. I don't know who needs to hear this, but when you have a goal, when you're dealing with something, it's important that you consider the pros and the cons. You see, you're no longer at a place where you have to, you need to do these positive affirmations and I can do all things. Yes, these are great, but sometimes you need to be real. And if you find yourself facing some obstacles, maybe you need to step back and look at things differently. You need to ask yourself new questions, different questions. And one of those questions is, what if? What if you've been looking at it the wrong way? What if the opportunities that you think are in line with, that you're pursuing, the things that you want out of this, what if they're not really there? What if it's not as good as you think it is? It's not as bad as you think it is. What if your wife is not as bad as you think she is? What if your husband is not as bad as you think he is? The moment you consider that possibility, things begin to shift in you, and you allow yourself to receive new information. You allow yourself to begin to analyze things differently. And sometimes you begin to see things that were there all along, but you didn't consider. This is my message for you this morning. Consider what is an investment decision you're about to make, a career decision. Consider wisely. Whatever obstacles you're facing, take a step back. One of the best things you can do for yourself is to hire a coach, a professional coach. Not somebody who's going to promise to teach you X, Y, or Z, but somebody who will challenge your thinking. Somebody who will support you in seeing things differently. Somebody who will call you out on the bullshit that you sometimes tell yourself. When you're ready for such a person in your life, someone with whom you can bounce ideas and explore possibilities, I invite you to reach out to me. Let's have a conversation. I hope you enjoy the beginning of a great weekend. I'm out.